Hey guys, how's it going? So right now I want to talk about the Razer Blade versus the G16. These are both the 2024 models. The G16 is brand new design for 2024, and the Razer Blade, quite frankly, has had a very similar design for the past several years now. The 16-inch might be the first time that they've used this last year, but overall, it's very similar to the design that the Razer Blade 15 introduced like almost a decade now. But anyways, I got a lot of comments asking to compare these two laptops, but quite frankly, they're very different products and they each have a different target audience in mind. I'll get into all that, but first, as always, let's start off with the build and the design. Build quality, both really high quality aluminum. I want to give them a tie. The only reason why I might lean more towards the Razer is because of the wobble that a lot of people seem to complain about with the G16. I think it's something that they should address next year, but in real life, honestly, it does not bug me. Not one bit. I mean, a lot of other reviewers talk about this. I got a lot of comments about that, but I'm gonna stop doing this for a second, but no, don't let that bother you. But if you are curious, the Razer has much less wobble. The hinge feels a little bit more tight and secure on the Razer too. I mean, I'm splitting hairs. They're both really built well. Moving on. Design-wise, I want to give it to this G16. I really like what they did this year with it. The slash lighting makes it very unique. I think it kind of like straddles the line between gamer aesthetics and also just kind of professional, cool, postmodern type aesthetics, where the Razer with this green logo, I mean, hate it or love it, it is here, and you can't change this color. And sometimes I kind of feel like this color, I don't know, this style of green kind of looks kind of toy-like. And also the inside, the keyboard deck area, I really want to give that win to the G16 as well too. It just looks like it's built a little bit more modern, just in terms of the lines, etc. Very similar build quality though, and also I like this gunmetal gray. But overall, I will give the design win to the G16. So Asus did an excellent job with the design on this laptop. I mentioned that the build is pretty much equivalent across the board on these two laptops. Another thing that's actually identical is the panel. They're both using the same panel, or at least they measure identically and they have the same specs. They're both QHD plus with 240 Hertz, and they're both OLED. They're both made by Samsung, and like I said, measurements are identical. 416 nits, among the highest color gamut I've ever seen on a laptop panel. And, well, there is one slight difference. The G16 has a bit of a matte coating, while the Razer Blade 16 goes for a complete glossy panel. And I know there's a lot of debate about whether matte screens or glossy screens are better. So which one is actually better? I would say for me, in most situations, I prefer the Razer Blade's panel. That glossy panel does allow colors to look a little bit deeper, richer. Contrast isn't getting messed up because light doesn't have to disperse across the entire screen the way matte coatings does. And also color gradients look a little bit better, and the perceived brightness on the Razer Blade 16 just seems a little bit higher. Like I said, they both measure identically. This is just what I am subjectively seeing here. But on the other hand, you're seeing a reflection of yourself almost every time that you look at the Razer Blade 16 if you're not in 300 nits or higher. And if you're outdoors, forget it. You won't be able to use this, while you could still get away with using the G16. So it kind of is personal preference. It depends on the type of environment you'll be using your laptops in. Since I'm mostly indoors, that's why I tend to prefer the Razer, but that would depend on you. But overall, both OLED, both amazing panels. Alright guys, so I'm really happy to be partnering with Mint Mobile on this one. So Mint Mobile is a great choice for anyone looking for an affordable and reliable wireless service. So if you're a new customer, you can get any plan for $15 a month when you purchase 3 months or more. That includes the unlimited plan, which is usually like $30 a month. So I've been using Mint Mobile for the past few weeks now, and man, it's been working great. I've been getting good speeds. I've been getting 5G Plus on this Galaxy S24 Ultra. And speaking of which, Mint Mobile uses the largest 5G network, so you can enjoy fast and reliable coverage wherever you go. Mint Mobile also lets you bring your own phone, or if you use the link down below, you can get an S24 Ultra and just pay it monthly. Mint Mobile also has a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free. Mint Mobile is a smart way to save on your wireless bill without compromising quality or convenience. So if you guys are interested, please check the link down below, and I'm really happy that I'm partnering with Mint Mobile on this portion of the video. Okay, so next, some of the physical attributes of the laptops. Let's talk about the keyboard. So they both have great keyboards. You are getting per key RGB on the Razer, while you're only getting single zone on the G16. That's cosmetic, it doesn't matter, but the typing experience is a lot better on the G16. Asus did a really good job redesigning this keyboard, and it's the best keyboard that Asus has ever built. There's no wobble on the keys, they just have a nice amount of travel and a nice spring back up. Really comfortable and very luxurious keyboard to use. Razer, also a good keyboard, but the travel is a bit shallow, and it always has been. That hasn't been something they've been ever really able to address, probably because they're packing a lot more power in this 16-inch chassis versus what they're able to do on the G16. And I'll get to that a little bit more later on, but I think that's why the keyboard suffers a bit more on the Razer. But I mean, I've mained Razers and I was able to get by with this keyboard just fine. No issues there. Trackpad, I'm going to give them a tie. They're both incredibly large, much larger than most other Windows laptops out there. Both great. These G16 speakers sound as good as the MacBook Pro 14 and 16 inch. In some ways, even a little bit better. The Razer Blade sounds good. It has a wider soundstage. That's the way that THX tuned it, but it just doesn't have the detail and the clarity that the G16 has. And I even have the Razer Blade 18, and comparing the two, the G16 still wins a little bit. Let's do a quick audio sample so you can get a chance, and I'll be using this mic so you'll get a good idea for what it actually sounds like instead of you just using. Okay, so now this is the Razer. So I'm going to have a link to this song down below. It was made by one of my friends back in Guyana. Check it out if you're interested. But I mean, I don't even need to go into the details. The G16 not only gets louder, but has better bass, better detail, better treble, etc. And it manages to still sound natural too, even though there's a lot of processing to getting these tiny, thin speakers to sound good. The Razer passes. It's one of the better ones out there, but there's no competition. So if speaker quality is important to you, hands down, the G16 is the better choice. Okay, so now let's start to get into some of the nitty-gritty of why I think these two laptops are two completely different products, and it's mainly due to the CPU used inside. So as you can see, first of all, the G16 is a lot thinner, and it's a lot lighter. I can pick this up easily with one hand. I mean, I could do it with the Razer too, but it's a little bit more challenging. So this is much more portable and much thinner. And one reason why they're able to do that is because of this CPU. It's the new Intel Core Ultra series. This happens to be the Core Ultra 9. That's the highest end that they have. There's also a Core Ultra 7, but at least in the United States, I think the only model you'll get with any G16, I should say, would be the Core Ultra 9. So the architecture of this chip is completely different. It's made more to be a balance between performance per watt and also just being able to use it as a regular laptop. So if you've used any traditional gaming laptops in the past, especially those Intel Core i9 chips, you know that battery life is always an issue. I don't talk about battery life on any of the gaming laptops because they all perform between 4 hours, 6 hours if you really, really try. So what makes this architecture different, I can do an entire video on this, but I'll just make it short, is whenever a process is being performed on the G16 with this Core Ultra chip, it starts with the E-cores, and as it needs more horsepower, it starts to shift it up to the higher performance cores on The typical Core i9 HX chips, it's the opposite. It starts off with the high performance cores and starts to shift it down to the E cores. So different priorities in mind. And also, the Core Ultra series of laptops has two ultra low E cores, and what that allows is Windows to run a lot more efficient when you're just doing basic tasks like checking emails, browsing, etc., and even watching videos. Because of that, it's able to perform a lot better while under battery. With the G16, you can just be doing nothing, like just hanging out in the desktop, and it's only going to use 5 watts. As you start to do some tasks, it went down to like 3 watts, etc. And everything is still very zippy. As I open up tabs and stuff and I start to mess around with Windows, it'll go up to 9 watts, maybe 12 watts. But this could run most of Windows in just 9 watts. The i9 HX chips at 15 watts, this laptop is pretty much unusable. It requires 30 watts to run properly. So as you can imagine, you're getting more than double the battery on this G16 versus what you're getting on the Razer. And because of that, even though this is a much thicker machine, the Razer Blade 16, in almost every situation, the fans are always running. The fans only kick into gear when it needs to, like if you're doing something like video editing, photo editing, or of course gaming. So because of those two chips is why I said initially that these are two completely different laptops. So if you're going to be on battery most of the time and you'll be traveling and you're going to be away from the plug, then the G16 might be worthwhile to you. It might be the better choice for you actually. But if you want to think about the Razer Blade 16 as a small portable desktop, or if you're going to be mostly plugged in, then the performance gains you will get from the Razer Blade might be worth it. And yes, there are performance gains, and we're going to get into that next. Yeah, so I've had the G16 and the Razer Blade 16 in a few configurations. So as I throw up numbers, you'll start to see that, yeah, it makes a very, very big difference. So if you value gaming and frames, then obviously the Razer Blade 16 would be for you. But I must say that performance isn't everything. Yeah, I know performance is important, but if the fact that the G16 is lighter, can survive 10 to 12 hours on battery, has better speakers, better typing experience, like all of that stuff can start to add up to where honestly, there might be situations where you might end up using your G16 more than you would the Razer Blade. Because like I said, the Razer Blade 16 is kind of a brick. It always needs to be plugged in. It's almost useless on battery, I would say. So, I will say though that if you're getting the 4070 version of the Razer Blade 16, then I would say definitely go for the G16 instead, because the GPU does most of the performance at like 110 watts. And the G16 has a max TGP of 105 watts. And this is in general. If you look at anything with the RTX 4070, don't be too concerned about the TGP, because anything past 115 watts, you don't get any benefit. So unfortunately, it's just marketing. If you choose a gaming laptop with the RTX 4070, that's over 115 watts of TGP. The 4080 and the 4090, on the other hand, no. The more you have, the better, up to 175 watts. So yeah, just keep that in mind as I'm showing some performance numbers up there. So one thing I do want to point out is, as awesome as the new Core Ultra 9 series of chips is, it's a brand new architecture, and like I said, it is a lot more efficient. So you're not getting the full performance as you would with a typical Core i9 laptop processor. So in essence, long story short, you're getting performance out of the G16 in terms of the CPU only to what you would have gotten from a high-performance gaming laptop from 2 to 3 years ago. So there's two ways of looking at that. You may be thinking that, hey, this G16 performs like a laptop from 3 years ago, or another way of looking at it, this laptop performs as good as maybe the laptop you're upgrading from, and it's able to do that while lasting 10 hours, and you're able to get a good experience of it while on battery. So, I mean, I feel like the CPU is more than powerful enough to push every single game you might throw at it. I mean, if you're looking at something like, so let me just Call of Duty right now. Yeah, you're not getting as much frames as you would with the bigger guys out there, but you know what? Unless you're living and dying by Call of Duty all day, then maybe the G16 isn't for you to begin with. For me, I like performance. I'm dealing with the bigger laptops for now. And plus, making these videos tends to be very resource heavy, so I need the most powerful processor I can get. Also, upgradability takes a big hit on the G16. The RAM isn't upgradable on this, but you're getting much faster RAM than you're getting on the Razer Blade 16. So make sure you choose the right amount of RAM that you need for this, for the G16 if you go for it. And if you guys choose either of these laptops, take a look at my links down below. They help me out. I don't know where else to go from here. These two laptops just really depend on what you're in the market for. So, all right, if I didn't answer anything, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one. Bye.